Welcome to the Fit Dad Nation podcast, forging strong fathers and raising a stronger generation. It's time to get up or shut up with your host, Steve Roy.
Hey guys, this is Steve Roy, the host of the Fit Dad Nation podcast. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. So before I introduce today's guest, I just want to take a moment to invite all you dads who are listening right now and are ready to start taking your health and fitness back and becoming the best dads and the best men you can be to join our brotherhood. The best way to do that is to head over to Facebook and apply to our private group, which is the Fit Dad Base Camp. And it's facebook.com/groups/Fit Dad Base Camp. So I've got a very interesting dude with me today. So his name is Kellner, but he's better known as Papa Swolio, and you may know him through his fitness brand Swolenormous or his Daily Swole podcast. And so, to be honest, when I first started seeing him pop up in my Facebook feed, I was like, this guy kind of looks like a cross between Kerry Von Erich and Thor. And I saw like how animated he was, and I figured he was just kind of like a fitness entertainer like Robert Frank or Don Mazzetti, the bro science guy. But when I started actually listening to his shows, I realized, I was like, you know what? This guy really knows what the fuck he's talking about. So his message is powerful. His passion for what he does is obvious. And I'm really fired up to actually chat with him. So Dash, welcome.
What's going on?
Man.
Thanks for having me.
You're kind of like, we were just talking about this, you're kind of like the crusader in the fitness space. And we share a passion for a lot of the same things. Kind of looking at fitness from a certain standpoint, and there's so much shit out there. And so I want to jump into a bunch of stuff regarding that. But, before we do that, for those that don't know who you are, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you ended up here.
Yeah, well, like my background, I have a degree in exercise science, so I am formally trained in that sense. After I graduated college, I came down to South Florida and I got my certifications through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So I had the CSCS certification. I got hooked in with NASM and I started actually teaching at a school for personal trainers. So I have a big background in being a formal educator in the fitness field. So I would train personal trainers. I would get them ready for a career in the field. Lots and lots of hours in a lab, corrective exercise, performance enhancement, and literally teaching personal trainers how to execute with their clients. And that's really where I realized there was a huge, huge rift, because for myself, through college and through that point, and this is over the span of maybe like 10 years, I saw my results in the gym and I knew what I was doing in the gym and I saw what other people were doing in the gym. And I saw the rift between what is being taught to personal trainers, what is being disseminated in terms of information from a marketing standpoint in the industry, and nothing literally corresponds, nothing whatsoever. Certifications are teaching things a certain way. People want to train a different way. And then the supplement industries are pushing all their bunk. So there is kind of 3 or 4 different sectors in the fitness industry, and there's not a lot of coherence, and there's a lot of confusion as a result. And especially with social media and the internet in the past 20 years, there is just such a, just information is ubiquitous. At the same time, it's not always a good thing, because now there's just so much of it. People don't see through the noise. And I think, with what I'm trying to do here is cut through the noise, stay my course, plant my flag, and wait for all, I guess, the dust to settle, because I think a big shift is coming. All the phonies and all the smoke and mirrors in the industry is going to kind of come crashing down.
I love what you're doing. And, for those listening, if you're taking a look at his stuff, I would just say, give him a few minutes, because if we see some of your most recent stuff, you're out of fucking control, right? You're swearing, you're driving, you're going crazy. And I'm like, what is going on with this dude? But then when you start listening to your messages, I mean, you really understand the industry, you understand the basics of good health and nutrition, and you give a lot of actually really great advice. So for anyone listening that's like, holy shit, I cannot take this guy, seriously, give him time. Believe me, he knows what he's doing. So, yeah. So like when I was listening to your stuff, and I'm like, this guy is just like me. I mean, I don't have the flair like that, but you and I think so much alike as far as this. I've been doing this for a long time, 21 years actually. Also, NASM is my background, doing that as well. But I want to hear what flip that switch where you just went on the assault. Like you're on the attack, and you're not a troll, but you're calling these people out that are just spewing garbage. These big name quote unquote fitness experts and gurus that we see on YouTube ads by they get millions and millions of views, they're influencers, but they're telling us absolute crap and people are buying it. So what was that switch where you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it and just take this head on. It's a big task for sure.
Yeah, well, the industry is, like I said, it's full of a lot of noise. So first off, no matter what your message is, and this kind of overlays with business, with marketing, you need attention before you can actually deliver information. So my approach originally, it's like, oh, I'm talking about fitness, I'm talking about science. People don't like school. That's why schools are failing, because it doesn't teach people what they need to know. No one wants to learn about corrective exercise. They want to hear about that ass, or they want to hear how you slam the peach. And, when you swear, that's really kind of like, it used to be taboo. Now it's a little bit more, accepted, and language is a little bit more lax in terms of what's acceptable in society. And a lot of that raw nature and those kind of in-your-face videos, I would just notice it just gets attention. And then once I grab people's attention, some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it, but those that do look deeper are going to actually find the content that they find valuable. And that's where I see a lot of people that are professionals falling short in a sense, is that they have good information. They might know what they're talking about, but they're not grabbing people's attention. People want to be entertained. People want to unplug from the daily grind and the monotony. So just kind of over time, my content has just developed and found those angles, I guess, that I feel comfortable with. It's part of me. It isn't like how I act all the time. I mean, that'd be ridiculous, and I wouldn't have any friends. And part of it is just this natural, I guess, ability to create a caricature or be satirical, and like a parody of myself. So I don't take myself that seriously. When you watch the content, when I'm being ridiculous, I don't take it seriously. Like, yeah, I'm being a fool. I'm acting like an asshole. It's not like, relax. Don't listen to this bearded, crazy fool in a car. However, I'm still saying things that people agree with. So you can laugh, move on. You don't like it, move on, watch something else. It's just to grab people's attention and then hopefully funnel them into some actual real content. Some people just want to be entertained. Some people want both. And some people actually need the real information, but you have to get their attention first.
Actually, it's something that I struggle with personally. I like to educate, but yeah, I feel like oftentimes I miss the boat with the natural, charisma piece that draws the eyeballs, right? I mean, obviously there's no shortage of fitness information. Everybody's vying for attention. And unless you're doing something different or unique, you're going to have a hard time standing out. So, your look, you look like kind of like a caveman, but you're always wearing, you don't have a shirt on, and you're definitely not a meathead. You're just a fit guy. But yeah, I mean, you've got some really cool ideas, like this, driving while gaining thing you have is hilarious. And it just cracks me up, man. I was just laughing my ass off watching your stuff last couple days, getting ready for this call. And I'm like, this is funny, man. So yeah, I don't want to make this show like, we're not just going to hate on people, but what I want to make it about is, calling attention to the things that are messed up with this business. And so, like, I watched your video yesterday you talked about Thomas DeLauer. So, I don't want to necessarily beat on anyone in particular, but this is a very well-known fitness personality. He's, been in all those, magazines of Men's Health, all that stuff, right? Super fit guy, sounds like he really knows what he's talking about, looks the part. Yet he's feeding us, these programs and these ways of eating and these diets and these whatever else. Obviously, he's doing it solely for the money, right? He's getting paid tons of money for this stuff. And, you call him out on a couple of things, including something I'd never even heard of, which was dry fasting, right? So we know intermittent fasting has its benefits for men, right? And I'm a fan. But it's maybe it's just for more views. Maybe it's to be polarizing. Hey, well, let's stop drinking water. Let's stop doing anything. Let's just starve to death, And so you call it out in such an interesting way. And so, actually, ironically, I don't know if you probably know this, but his ads come up before your videos in many of them, which is so ironic. I don't know if he does that just to fuck with you or what, but
yeah.
Okay, because it's so
no, it's because I tag him. I'm sure. Google pulls it up. And you can block certain people, you can block certain ads, but no, I like it.
So there are tons of people like this that are influencers, experts, quote unquote experts, authors that are just feeding us stuff to make money, right? Like you and I both know that there's no magic potion, there's no magic pill. You can't pay $19.99 for fitness. The Simply Fit board isn't going to work, right? And it's all about doing the basics, right? We're just covering the basics. And as you've said, and I talk about, it's not sexy, it's boring, and it doesn't sell, which is why we don't hear about it enough, right?
Yeah, well, when it comes to someone like DeLauer, one of the issues with the industry is people need attention, right? People need attention. People need to be known for something, right? People need to create their brand around something. And if you look at someone like him, his videos, 80% of them have fasting in the title. They're all about fasting. Hi, it's Thomas DeLauer. I'm the intermittent fasting expert. You'll hear everyone plant their flag as one specific type of thing. Like, I'm this expert. No, you're not. You're just some dude who someone gives them studies and you misinterpret studies, or you make your videos and good production value. You talk well. You're a good looking dude. You have muscles. Oh, look at my stretch marks. Look how much weight I lost. Yeah, you didn't eat as much and you started exercising. There's no such thing as an intermittent fasting expert. People just make things up. So for someone that's not in the industry, there's no I'm an MD, I'm an intermittent fasting doctor. It doesn't exist. Okay, so you read studies, and a lot of times they're misinterpreted, and people can debunk these videos. And it's not to say that intermittent fasting is bad at all. And it's not to say that one meal a day is bad. And it's not even to say that dry fasting is bad, because there could be applications and people that study this that know a lot more about it than I do. I always just find, I guess my best approach to my content is kind of like how you would go to, let's say, a park and you'd see someone who does caricatures, right? And if you're someone that has big eyebrows, obviously the caricature, the artist is going to draw massive bushy eyebrows. They're going to accentuate certain features as a caricature. Like, that's one of those cartoons that accentuates a feature of you. Either you have big shoulders, so you'll exaggerate your shoulders, or your big nose or something like that. And what I do with my content is I pretty much do the same thing, and I exaggerate one aspect. So he's the intermittent fasting expert. So my video is just really making fun of how he's always talking about intermittent fasting rather than just the fasting itself, because everyone's going to find something that works for them. You're going to find people in the comments, I love his content. It works for me. It works great. I believe in dry fasting. It's like, fine, then dry fast. But everyone's got to plant their flag somewhere. And when you do that, it's kind of like religious zealotry, where you just are all 100% and you're unswayable, because you can't be dynamic, you can't be nimble in the industry when you make all these videos that claim this, and all of a sudden it's going to come out, intermittent fasting kills people, and 90% of your videos are all about intermittent fasting, or you're the keto guy, right? Brandon Carter, Keto King. Like, get the fuck out of here, Keto King. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? It doesn't work for everyone. It's just, and there's this, this underlying message that they're sending, that this is the answer, this is the best thing to do, and people just build their brand around one thing. I think it's very one-dimensional. Yeah, exactly. I think it's short-sighted.
It's funny you said that. I had a client a while back. I had been working with him for a couple of years in person, and we had gone through multiple different programs, and we've covered nutrition extensively. And so I show up one day, and he's like, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He's like, I'm doing keto. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, I saw this awesome video from this guy, Fit to Fat to Fit. And he's this keto expert, and he lost all this weight, and then he gained it, and he lost it doing keto. And I ordered it. I paid him $100 to order his program. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And so, he ended up ordering it and then not doing it after a few more conversations. But that's it. I mean, this is someone that I had been working with for a couple of years and still just went around and succumbed to a very powerful marketing message, And so the average person out there, it's like shooting fish in a barrel for these excellent these people that are really good at marketing. I mean, and it's so frustrating to see that because we're in the minority. Like, I refuse to do that. You're not going to play that game, but we're up against these people spending millions and millions of dollars to reach millions and millions of people, trying to sell them something that isn't really going to help them long term, right? Anyone can lose weight short term doing anything, right? I mean, you can do anything.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing an onion diet. All you're going to eat is onions for the next 6 weeks, and you're going to lose 50 pounds. Oh, yeah, of course you are, right? I mean, that's what's happening, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have, here's the fundamental issue with all these different things. First off, there's not one thing that works. There's not one thing that's going to work for everyone. There's nothing wrong with vegan. There's nothing wrong with keto. There's nothing wrong with paleo. As far as we know, there's nothing wrong with Atkins. There's nothing wrong with anything. And you're going to find a huge population of people that have gotten results with any of those things. And the reason is because if you go from eating chips, sitting on your ass, doing nothing, to exercising and cutting out a lot, because all these quote diets nothing includes fast food, nothing includes sugar, nothing includes tons of alcohol. You're exercising regularly and you're eating real food. So whether you're getting inflammation from the vegetables or whatever from your vegan diet or your carbs, you're still not eating, consuming soda or, X, Y, and Z. So of course you're going to lose weight. So you're going to have a lot of people that see great results and say, oh, I lost 30 pounds on this. I lost 20 pounds on this. Of course you did, because you stopped being a fat ass. You started exercising and you ate real whole food. So, when it comes to the marketing aspect of it, that's where it makes it, I guess, more of a challenge, so to speak, for someone like myself, because I do a lot of marketing and I do targeting and I have programs and online programs and membership sites and stuff like that. But I start to notice, because I get very deep with my community. I answer every single question on every post whenever possible, and every single message, DM, everywhere, obsessively. So it takes up a massive amount of time, but I really have gotten to know people and my audience, and people get really, they've gotten burned so many times. It's very, very hard to provide a fitness service on the internet because of stuff like that, because of, people that burn the bridges. They make these claims or these drastic claims or spot reducing fat and all this bullshit. And people, of course, are hesitant to start another program. They're hesitant to purchase something else, even though it might be something that benefits them. So, that's where my approach personally with my members comes in from a different angle, because I don't plant my flag. In other words, the famous phrasing, I don't feed someone fish. I like to teach them how to fish. I like to teach them how to learn the best way for them, coming from a certain foundation, because everyone's going to be a little bit different. And all people are welcome. Vegans, even though I'll make fun of this, I just make fun of people that are obsessed or think they have the answer, because, you don't. The more you learn, the more you realize, I don't know what the hell's the answer. And even top scientists don't know. So how do you know? That's why they're still doing research, because they don't know. That's like fundamentally like, oh, we don't know. That's why we're doing experiments. And then people claim they have answers. No, we're still experimenting for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know you talk about the elimination diet as part of your programs, which isn't, we won't even call it a diet per se. It's, basically you're introducing food, see how your body reacts. If it doesn't react well, you take it out.
Yeah.
Right. And so, it's a common sense thing, I'm sure in your programs, you're teaching the basics of strength training and, high intensity training and, just the basics, getting quality, whatever, the whole, we could talk about sleep and stress reduction, all those things, and testosterone production or hormone optimization, all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, it comes down to, making better lifestyle choices. Really, right at the bottom of it all.
Of course.
And that's it.
And being consistent, people choose these things that are unsustainable, and consistency is the number one thing that's going to either get you results or not get you results. And if you're doing something that's extreme or that's unsustainable, it's going to be with a limited time. You could rebound, and it's not something that's going to make you, happy and actually pursue true health or true wellness. And, the health and fitness industry, I mean, the title of it, it's all just a hot mess. It really is.
Yeah. So, you have an average person, let's say they're 40 pounds, overweight. They've tried a bunch of different diets and they decide this time they're going to go keto, right? And so they do a keto diet for a few months, but they've spent their entire life with rice in their diet, whole grain breads and oatmeal, right? And now all of a sudden they can't eat any of that stuff. How long is that going to last before they crack, right? It's very rare that they're going to be like, you know what? I don't ever want those things again. I mean, it's not going to, I mean, it does happen, but it's very rare. And so you end up going nuts. The diet goes out the window and you're like, oh, I failed again. And here I am again. And now I'm 50 pounds extra instead of 40. And it just goes back and forth. And so, one of the things that I teach is, I like personally a paleo primal, type of diet. It works really well for me. I've had a lot of success with clients, but it doesn't work for everybody, not by any stretch of the imagination. So I make sure everybody understands that. I'm not pitching it hardcore. I say this is how it's done. If it works for you, great. If it fits to your lifestyle, works into your schedule, all those things, every part of your lifestyle has to work with this for it to be a long-term fit for you and for you to stick with it. And you have to actually enjoy doing it. If it's miserable every day, how long is that going to last, right? If you absolutely hate it. It's like me making somebody go do CrossFit when they hate CrossFit. Well, too bad. You're doing it 5 days a week. Well, yeah, they're going to fall out.
Yeah, it's also the lack of education. People see someone on their profile. They're like, oh, someone, it's one of those things where you'll see, Mary Keto or Keto Lifestyle. Everyone just changes their name. If you're a vegan, there's something about either CrossFit, vegan, keto, and you'll see it. When you do this, it appears magically in someone's Instagram profile. They're just like, they change the name of their profile. They put it in their profile. They're vegan or plant-based or keto, and all they do is put cheese on everything. So there's a real lack of education when it comes to something like ketosis and the process, like you said, getting rid of rice and then craving carbohydrates, because there are several weeks of readaptation and the gut biome and how that alters and how you're going to feel indigestion. You're going to have issues, but people don't have the proper education. They just want to follow some cookie cutter process. And that's where it gets really, really dangerous, because personal trainers, and I know this, they're not qualified to give nutritional advice. Even nutritionists in most cases aren't qualified to give nutritional advice. So any personal trainer that's giving out diet programs is literally putting themselves at massive legal risk. And I refuse to actually step forward into that realm and give someone a diet plan. I don't know how that slips through the cracks all these years. People just freely ask for diet plans. Like, no, that's not what anyone should be doing. It's just the wrong approach. People worry too much about how much, calorie counting, macro ratios, rather than what they're actually consuming. And that's my big push.
Yeah, and that's actually an issue for sure, because everybody now, I mean, you can't even call them trainers. They call themselves trainers or coaches on Instagram or wherever, social media. I mean, the credentials are pretty much, I have a 6-pack and I'm 22 years old. But yeah, I mean, everyone's doling out fitness advice, custom meal plans, and no one's asking, well, how are you qualified to do this? But they see this hot woman, this phenomenal body, and they're like, clearly she knows what she's doing. Clearly she knows how to eat well. So I'm going to pay her $100 or $200 for her custom meal plan, and it'll work. And, and I had a conversation this morning with one of my clients. She's a 35-year-old mother of 2, busy life. She's a doctor, and she sends me this Instagram profile of this like 20-some-odd-year-old girl with 10 million Instagram followers. She
must know what she's talking
about.
That's
what I'm saying. She's like, I want to look like her. I said, can you make me look like her? And I just wanted to throw my phone against the wall when I saw it, but I had to have a conversation with her. Like, listen, this is not your lifestyle, right? This is what she does for a living now. Clearly, she posts all this dumb shit. Her doing 10 burpees gets 2 million views. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, how does this even make any sense? But like your video that you posted about that knucklehead with that pink Starbucks drink, who you're like, why are people watching this? Like, why are people thinking this is healthy? Like, like it really, truly blows my mind that it's out there. And she's an intelligent, very intelligent woman, yet here she is telling me, well, this person, has this perfect body, and like, well, look at her lifestyle, look at her age. She's never had any kids. Like, she doesn't have all the things that you have going on. And, so that's what I feel like I'm up against.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one is ever going to look like anyone else. I'm like, oh, can you make me look like this? Absolutely. 110% no. You know why? Because you're not that person. You don't have their genetics. You're not 19 years old. And the reason why they have that many followers is, one, they probably either paid for them, or they just don't wear a lot of clothes and they're attractive. So of course they're going to get a lot of views. And, it's at that point where there is a lot of that is coming down. A lot of that is coming down because at the beginning of Instagram, you can easily pay for followers, and those things remained when Instagram started cracking down on a lot. And you can tell by a lot of engagement when their likes or their views or their comments don't match up at all to their total followers. And, these chicks are just literally doing exactly what you said. They're posting little videos of them doing something with terrible form. They have a lot of people that are young, that are even less educated than they are. And of course, you'll start throwing out a diet plan, or you have a link or some kind of like funding page. And, it's just part of it's part of the fluff that seems like a big deal now, but like really it's just a matter of staying the course, because all these people, they're going to be just flash in the pan. They're not really good business people. They don't really have any substance. The truth of all this comes out eventually. Like the video I made about the pink drink, apparently that picked up a lot of steam, and there's a lot of hate groups, so to speak, about her, because apparently she has scammed a lot of people out of money. So after I made that video, I got hundreds of messages from women that have like literally support groups on Facebook and on Instagram about that one person, because she charges all this money and she never delivered, or she gave cookie cutter diets and programs, and she's, full of shit. So what goes around comes around, and you don't build a business by burning bridges. So it depends on what people are doing it for. But, like we talked about before, attention is primary, and it depends on how you use it. You got to respect people's attention, or you're going to lose it and they're going to turn on you, and you can't really build that back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I want to talk about something too, and this is a pretty hotly contested topic. This whole fat shaming thing. And so before I get into the video that I saw of yours, which was fantastic, this was probably 6 months ago. I was at a softball game with my daughter. My youngest daughter is 10, and so she plays 10U, so it's 10-year-old girls. And so I'm sitting there on the bench, and I see one of the kids on the other team comes up to bat, and this is a 10-year-old girl, and she was probably had to be at least 250 pounds. My daughter is maybe 50 pounds. And so she was like 5'8", like clearly, she had some genetic things where she just was developing very early, but her dad was the coach, and he was morbidly obese. We're talking 450 pounds. And, he's got on the side, he's got a hot dog, he's got a big gulp, and the mother was the same way. And I'm thinking, this is the parents' fault for why this girl is the way she is right now. And I felt bad for her, because I'm like, I know what it's like to be bullied. I know what it's like to be picked on. And no matter how you slice it, this kid's going to get shit, right? Doesn't look anything like any other 10-year-old girl here. So I posted a picture and I mentioned a couple things, and I was pretty pissed off at the parents for this. And I got a lot of guys, and my groups are all guys. And, I had people leaving my groups telling me to fuck off, that I was fat shaming, all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa. Like, let's back it up here. Like, I'm not calling this poor kid out. Like, I did feel bad for the kid. She doesn't know any better. She goes home and there's Big Macs, and the lifestyle is conducive to being fat. And you just look at the parents, right? They don't care. And they're teaching her not to care. And this kid is going to have a hell of a life, and I'm just speculating, of course, but this is my assumption. So I got a lot of feedback. And so when I saw your video about this plus size model Tess Holiday, I'd never heard of her. So, you show a video, she's gorging on a big cake, and she's really large. Like she's morbidly obese, and you went off.
Yep.
And it wasn't a troll, like this is a fat piece of shit or anything like that. You were legitimately like, this is what you're teaching your women, the people that follow you, the people that care about you. You're saying that it's okay to be this unhealthy, and it's fucking wrong. It's wrong. And your video is so fucking funny. I love it. You go into detail about
Thank you.
Why this is not right. Like why is she doing this? And like you said, she has this group of supporters that anyone that says anything negative is delete this comment or this. They don't, and it's crazy to me. So tell us, your thoughts on this whole movement around fat shaming and loving your body no matter all that stuff.
It's just the victim culture that we live in. I mean, it's happening politically, it's happening socially, and it's something that hopefully, will blow over, but people are sensitive. When you're younger, sticks and stones will break my bone, but words will never hurt me. And all people do is get offended by words. And that's part of where I get my crude approach from, because it rattles people and it catches people. I mean, that video included, but I have another video that's viral. I mean, it's gotten like 5 or so million views on Facebook that literally starts out like, I don't know if anyone, if your audience has seen this, but it's titled "The Truth Hurts." And I'm walking down the street and I say, you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but you're fat. And then boom, it goes to the intro. And then I literally tell everyone to their face that they're fat. You're not horizontally challenged. You are fat. And, and you have to accept, you have to acknowledge the fact that you're obese. It's like an alcoholic. You have to admit that there's a problem. And it's not that you're a terrible person. That's where the attention grabbing and people that just tune out when they see the title, like, oh my God, they're ready to pounce. They don't listen to the message. So it has to do with those individuals, people that think it's fat shaming when it's actually just speaking truth. You're not shaming someone. Like you said, I'm not saying that people that are overweight are assholes. I'm not saying that people that are fat are disgusting. I never say that once. Never once do I attack someone's character because they're obese. But I want people to understand that you have a choice. Now, you might not ever look like a skinny mini or be like a supermodel skinny, but that's not healthy either. That's not a proper measurement of beauty or quality of life standards either. But there is undeniable links with obesity, with cancers, with heart disease, with diabetes, and that you cannot say anything to disprove that. You have 1 in 3 people are obese. I think 1 in every 3 people are diabetic or pre-diabetic in this country. Whatever the fucking stat is, it's pretty much everyone is on the cusp of being extremely ill for the rest of their lives. And everyone just gets really sensitive because it's true. And people don't like to hear the truth, but the truth always wins. And anyone that's getting insulted by what you said, they probably have stomach fat. They're probably overweight. Their daughter is probably a little bit pudgy, and they take it personally, and that's on them. It's not on you. And so my personal approach is I'm going to hurt some feelings, but I help a lot of people. And literally that video that I just mentioned, I call people fat to their face. It's been going around for about 1.5 years. And the response, of course, there's hate in the comments too, but overwhelmingly positive. I can't even tell you how many messages I get people saying, yes, I'm obese, and yes, I took control. I lost 50 pounds since seeing that video. People like I'm talking to the people that are going to do something about it. People that are going to get offended are already offended. They're already trying to blame someone else for their issues. And you can't deny that the fact that most disease, most obesity, most, I'm not talking about people that have a misfiring thyroid based on genetics. I'm talking about people that ate their way and were lazy and not exercising their way into not just obese, hey, I have a few extra pounds, morbidly obese lifestyles. That is self-inflicted, and people have to take responsibility for what they did to their own bodies. And if they don't, then fine, it's their life. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that you deserve sympathy for what you did to your fucking self. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to call me a fat shamer when I'm just speaking the truth. I didn't do it to you, you did. So what now? And I don't have to, and I have to answer to anyone. So I usually go a little bit harder than most people, and I'm not afraid to post things on. And I have a lot of people that are afraid to, I don't want to share this because I agree with you, but they say, but I can't share this on my page. People, I just say what people are either afraid or unable to say. And that's the difference. A lot of people don't want to share this because they have overweight people in their family. I have overweight people in my family. Like my mother is probably, is overweight a little bit. I mean, people are overweight. It happens, but there's no denying why it happens. It's not like some, oh, I woke up and all of a sudden I was fat. It's like, no, you didn't trip and fall into the cheeseburger. So there's always those extenuating circumstances, and studies have been showing that if you are obese when you conceive a child, they have certain genetics and certain gene structures and certain gene sequences are turned on that make them more likely to be obese, the children. That's why overweight parents, overweight children, and you're setting them up for a real struggle in losing it if it's even possible. And epigenetics, and we don't have to get down that road, but that's a huge field of study that is showing a lot of links to the parents being obese when they have kids and how that affects the genes in their children, their offspring. It's fascinating, but like you said, it's a real epidemic. And for people that took offense to what you posted, you weren't insulting, you're calling her ugly, you weren't calling her a worthless X, Y, and Z, but it's an epidemic for a reason because people don't want to address the actual issue that's themselves.
Exactly. And I have two daughters, 13 and 10. And, the last thing I want is for either one of them to start thinking about, oh, my weight is important, or my size is important. And my oldest is in 8th grade, and obviously that's a brutal year for kids. My 8th grade was horrible for me. It was one of the worst years of my entire life. But so we teach them about health, right? So I have my girls. I'm divorced. I have my girls every weekend, and they're with their mother during the week, so I can't control what she's feeding them, what they're learning. But when they come here, it's all about health, and we want to feel better. So it's never about, man, you need to lose weight, or let's eat this because this is really fattening and terrible for you. We go to the gym together, we ride bikes together, and it's about the experience versus, hey man, you need to burn some calories so you can, fit into your pants, nothing like that. So that's what I really want to teach. And that's what I teach, to my community is let's educate our kids, for the right reasons. Let's not, go anywhere else than let's live a good quality of life, and this is how we do it. And you have to lead by example. I mean, you have to do it yourself. If you're telling them to do one thing and you're turning around and stopping at McDonald's every other day, then they're learning from that more so than what you're actually telling them.
Yeah, that's right. And it's all that you can do is pass along the information that you have, and like you said, lead by example. And the issue does come down to the parenting. It comes down to the parenting. Whenever there's an issue, it's because parents are out of touch with their children, whether it's these, horrific school shootings and this depression. It's all linked to food. It's all linked to food, mental instability, depression, ADHD. It's autism. It's linked to food, directly linked to food. The gut-brain axis has been shown it causes depression. And when you change children's lifestyles and their eating habits, it drastically changes the outcome of their behavior. And this has been proven time and time again, yet there is absolutely no action on, in the education system. There's no action from anyone. It's just this kind of like denial that this is actually the answer because no one wants to break off their addiction. There's too much money. It has to start. It can't start from the top. It would never will. It has to start from things like this with these types of podcasts. That's why I do my podcast daily. Like, that's why I'm always hammering this stuff, because it's like chipping away. You chip away at a rock. Eventually you're going to, you keep on hacking at a tree. Eventually it's going to fall. And it has to start from the bottom. It has to start with communities. It has to start with, local functional medicine and proper, practicing of nutritional habits, starting with these independent schools. Like, hopefully the school system collapses and people start creating their own independent education systems, in communities, and hopefully this stuff grows organically from the ground up. But it's just a huge, I equate the system as it is to like a massive yacht, like a huge cruise ship, and you can't turn those things on a dime. It's just a lurching machine. And there's so many people are suckling at the teat of these industries that it's just, it has to start in the home. It has to start in the small communities. It has to start in these little cells around the country with, information like this getting out to the masses.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good analogy too.
Yeah.
And to quote you, say, if you're eating the wrong shit, you're a fucking idiot. I heard you say that. And I mean, that's what it boils down to, right? I mean, take offense or not take offense. It's true for me. When I eat like an asshole, I'm being an idiot, right? I'm putting poison in my body. I willingly do it. Like I have this fucking habit of drinking Monster Zeros, right? I'm addicted to it. And I know it's nothing good at all. There's no sugar. There's, it's okay. There's no sugar. There's no calories. No. Did you see the ingredients? It's 100 ingredients of chemicals and other bullshit. I know this. I'm still drinking it. So yes, I am being an idiot, But yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to is let's not do that. I mean,
Yeah, it kind of comes down to what you were saying before. People they need to adhere to certain nutrition plans. And my big thing is we're not born with calculator in our stomach. We're born with it. Our hypothalamus in our brain creates that hormonal balance and lets us know when we're hungry and when we're full. And when we're plugging up and we're adding garbage to our machine, eating junk food, we don't get the right signals. So my big motto is if you eat the right shit, you don't have to count shit. And a lot of people get triggered by that because the fitness industry is based around counting. It's based around measuring, adding, subtracting. And that's just because people can relate to it because we're taught how to count since we're 3 years old. So we know, 7 is less than 8. Cool. But that's not the answer because if you're eating 100 grams of arsenic, it's not good. A small amount of poison is still poison. It can cause massive problems with your gut and with your system and cause migraines or joint pain or all these kinds of issues. And people don't realize what those are. That's what the elimination diet starts to whittle away at. So I try to encourage people to focus, forget the calories, forget it. Everyone's going to talk about calories and macros, and yeah, energy is real and calories are real, but focus on what you're eating, what it is. Stop worrying about, okay, is it 100 calories? Is it, 40 grams of carbs? What is it? What's in it? Like you said, the Monster, like what is in that you're consuming? Is that something that your body responds to? If not, why are you consuming it? And if you're having trouble with your weight, I mean, if you're not, if you're happy with where you are, if you're happy with your health and you want to have a monster in this, like there's no freedom that's being taken away from anyone. But this denial that what you're eating isn't the most important thing is ridiculous. And oftentimes people go for these cutting calories. They go by, and you see so many quote fitness experts. And I'm so sick and tired of seeing this online. I have so many people are posting those fucking annoying infographics, comparing 200 calories or this or all these are good, and they're posting grains, they're posting this, and the whole thing is like, it doesn't matter what you do. You can, enjoy this, enjoy your life, enjoy that. I get it. There's too much hand holding. There's too much arms around the shoulders because it's seen as friendly. It sells. People like to hear it. People like to hear they can have a cookie. People like to hear they can have treats. It's like, fine, have a treat, have a cookie, but don't complain that you're not getting results fast enough. And if you literally want to go and live your life counting calories and measuring on a scale, then by all means. But you absolutely don't have to. If you're eating the right foods, you will get full. And then down the line, once you figure out what those are, then you can start to look, okay, how much am I consuming? I want to gain some, I want to bulk up a little bit. You know the foods that you should be eating, then you eat more of them. I want to lose some weight. You know the foods you should be eating, you eat less of them. And then it's very, very simple. But you need to reset your body and actually take some interest into what your body responds to. And it's such simple information, but people don't have it because it's not sexy and it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. It's not a diet per se. It's not a supplement per se. Oh, you mean I have to put effort in and experiment on myself for 4 to 6 weeks? Fuck that. And it's not sexy. I don't care. I push that anyway because the real healthy approach to fitness will win in the end. But I'm playing the long-term game, not the short-term sprint. And, I'm just putting my money on that. Yeah, double zeros.
You touched on probably my biggest pet peeve at the moment, and it's been like this for a while, is the infographic issue on Instagram. So everywhere you go now, every trainer, every quote-unquote expert, coach, whatever, is doing these infographics. And the underlying theme to so many of them is calories are the only thing that you need to care about. If you're eating less, it doesn't matter what you eat, you're going to lose weight. And on paper, in theory, right, you need fewer calories than you're burning, yes. But what happens is people don't realize yes, quality does matter. It's extremely important. Yes, you could eat 500 calories of Pop-Tarts every day. You are going to lose weight. What is it doing to your health? What is that doing to your lean muscle tissue, right? But that doesn't get addressed as much. And so everyone just jumped on that bandwagon. It's only calories. Oh, it's just calories. You can have donuts. You can have all this stuff, but just count. Just stay under your calorie requirement. It drives me crazy.
Hey, if you're intermittent fasting, you could have a Rice Krispie treat.
And that's it. And like you said, and we can beat this to death, but it doesn't sell, right? And that's the end of the line. That's the end of the thing. If it doesn't sell, no one's going to talk about it. And that's it. So you have to be doing something that, is, yeah. I'm just so frustrated. Like, sorry, I get so frustrated with this. So
yeah, I know. That's why look, and a lot of what I've found when it comes to creating content online is that's why you have to be relentless with certain things, because the people that are going to find you, literally, you have to be there when people are ready for you. Not everyone's going to be ready for you all the time. I have a lot of people in my community, and I've realized a lot of people just need, they need courting. They'll follow my podcast for 6 months and then join my private site, or they'll kind of be in the back of the classroom when they have a lot of stuff going on in their lives. People are busy. People are distracted. People are not surrounded with a lot of positivity. A lot of people are doing things they don't enjoy in their life. People are miserable. People are really fucking miserable. And it's sad. And I hear it all the time. They're just not happy. They're not looking at fitness the right way, because all they're getting is just pounded with all these people that are doing it better than them. And when you think about it, there's 7 billion people in the world. Even if you look at 100,000 people that are in amazing shape on Instagram, which is a lot of things to look through and scroll through on Instagram. If you looked at 100,000 people, wow, these 100,000 people are in such better shape than me. That's an extremely small percentage of the entire population in the world. Most people are not healthy. What you're seeing online is not the norm. And most people are getting discouraged, and they try to find those quick fixes. They try to find those shortcuts, and they don't exist. And what you're eating is literally the most important thing it's the most important thing you can do. What you're actually consuming, the foods you're actually consuming is the number one most important thing you could do for your body. It's the only thing that your body runs on: water, sleep, and what you're consuming. That's it. Like, it doesn't get any more foundational than that. And most people are not hydrating properly. Most people are not sleeping properly. They get too much blue light. They're not sleeping enough. They're not recovering. They don't have quality of sleep. And they're not eating the right food. So right away, people are worried about what supplement to take. I haven't even mentioned the actual fitness programming yet. So let's say sleep, training, your hydration, what you're eating, and then what about your stress management, medication, things like that for hormone balance and everything. And then we get to, supplements, maybe. That's just, people go right to, hey, what protein should I be taking? None. Like, what are you eating? And they eat like crap. It's just, it's easy to say, hey, pay me $30, I'll give you this. And I don't know, that's just really fundamentally just it's the marketing pitch. It's people's desire to purchase something and to have an answer. Everyone wants an answer. People don't want to work for it. People don't want to take responsibility for their own health. That's where they invest in someone else. They buy someone's program, so the responsibility isn't on them. Oh, this program didn't work for me. This diet worked. This one didn't work. They're not putting it on themselves. They're putting it on someone else. If it didn't work, it's your fault. It's your fault. If someone's nutrition plan didn't work, it's your fault, either for purchasing it and not understanding your body, or you didn't do it properly. It's not their fault. It's probably your fault. And it's just personal responsibility. It goes back to fat acceptance. It goes to their health. It's everyone's individual responsibility for their own health, and no one wants to take responsibility for it. And it's a huge problem. It's just a fundamental issue.
You said something that I really didn't think about before I heard it. You say it. And it's one of the most common things that we see out there, and that's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results are going to come from what you eat. And your point was, says who, right? Like, where did that come from? Now it's just fact, right? Everybody knows, quote, know that it's 80% of what you eat and 20% training, right? But when I started to think about it, I'm like, well, where did that number come from? I don't know that that's true. It could be something else. Who knows? And you say, no, it's 100% of each, right?
Yeah, that's why I like to say. I like to say it's 100% both. And because if you're like, how can you, first off, I don't even, like you said, I mean, I've seen posters in gyms that said 85%. I'm like, what's a percentage? 80%. What does that mean? It means you're not giving it your full attention. It means you're allowing yourself that room for excuse. It means you're not focusing as much on your attention. The 80-20 rule is just it's a fundamental mind fuck because it sets people up for failing. It gives them, I don't know, it just it doesn't explain anything. It really does. I don't know. It's just something that someone made up. Someone said that nutrition is important. Absolutely. But you can't tell me that the training isn't brutally important. It's extremely important. I don't think you should be attributing any kind of percentage because what, you're going to cheat 20% of the time? I mean, how many, I don't know. And then it comes down to cheat meals and, oh, well, so-and-so has a cheat meal and I see great results. Fine. Everyone's different. But people like to complain without putting in 100% effort. And if you're not putting in 100% effort, then shut your mouth.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're struggling with a little fat around your stomach, you don't get a cheat meal, buddy. You got to figure out what's going on. That's not normal. So that's where it comes down to. Again, responsibility for your situation and understanding that if you don't have what you want and you're putting in, like, you never heard anyone say, all right, I'm going to give it everything, give it 80%. You hear that classic 110%. Well, you should, if you want amazing results, then you're not going to look like a fitness model going to the gym casually, cheating and eating People drastically underestimate the hard work it takes for someone to look the part and to have like aesthetics and a physique. It's an entire lifestyle. And it's gotten whittled down to some kind of, hey, I want to diet and I'm going to do keto and I'm going to look ripped, or I want to go to the gym. How do I build muscle? Jeez. I mean, I get these general questions. I don't even answer. I don't even bother myself with that. I'm like, first off, that was the laziest fucking question. So I'm not even going to answer it. You can go listen to my 1,000 podcasts and I'll explain everything to you. Put in the work, take some initiative and do something. You didn't even do any research. How do I build muscle? How do I get abs? Shut up. Leave me alone.
Oh yeah. I love to say that if you're still fat, there are no rest days. And so what I mean is, these guys, most of my audience are guys my age, that want to get leaner, right? A lot of them are carrying a bunch of extra fat, specifically belly fat. Yet every Sunday they're on the couch for 8 hours, drinking a few beers, having chips and dip. I say, you're serious, right? Of course, everyone needs time off. Everybody needs downtime, rest, whatever. But if you're unhappy, with where you're at physically, and you're committed to it, then that's not going to be at the top of your list. You're going to be doing something else. Like, I don't ever, and this just is me, but I almost never watch television. I never watch sports, and that's not that I don't like them, but I'm out with my kids. We're out doing something, right? And that's what I'm just trying to teach is like,
right.
If you're not happy, either commit or not, right? And don't send me those emails like you said, how do I lose weight? I'm like, you got to be kidding me, really? I want abs, man. Yeah, I want abs.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, you've been training for, what'd you say, like 20 years? I've been training for like 18 years. It takes a lot of time. And one of the things that I've learned, I mean, I wasn't doing everything right from the beginning. I didn't, I was eating, God, when I was first bulking, I was eating literally every 2 hours on the clock, timed. And I was, pounding 2 cans of dry tuna fish. And I was dipping whole grain bread in water so I can get my 4 slices in. And yeah, but I mean, it worked because I was eating a ton of calories and I was training like a beast. It wasn't the healthiest approach looking back on it. And it doesn't mean that some of these things won't work, but what are they doing to your body in the, on the side? What are they doing to your body that you can't see, that you can't feel, that you're not aware of? And, when people really look at their fitness and their life the way that I try to get them to approach it. And it's hard when someone is in their 20s or 30s or even sometimes 40s when you talk to them about the long term. And my content is all about your long-term approach. And again, it's not sexy. People want abs for their vacation in 3 weeks. They don't want, oh, well, I need to be healthy and be mobile when I'm 60 or 70. But that's why I'm saying I'm going to be right when they look back on episode 725 or whatever, and I'm talking about this. Oh, when they're 60 years old and they realize they can't stand up because their back hurts too much. Oh, Papa Swolio was talking about doing yoga 25 years ago. I should have listened. Oh, what do I do now? Then they're going to come and be my customer. And I'm like, well, I don't want to say I told you so, but I fucking told you so. So I'm just like really trying to pass that message because no matter what happens, whatever diet you choose, whatever you want right now, you're going to get older. You're going to need you're going to need these things that you're not maybe paying attention to now. That's going to be much more valuable, being mobile. And I've trained a lot of geriatric population. I've worked a lot with people in their 70s, 80s, and older. And that was a very valuable experience. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, especially up into their passing. And when you just see people lose their mobility, lose their health, and just see what that's like, it just makes you so adamant and just passionate about, in your mind, never being like that. Of course, we're all going to go, but that mentality of long-term approach, it changes how the decisions you make today. I'm not trying to deadlift 500 pounds anymore. It's not important to me. It's not necessary. I'm thinking about my joint health. I'm thinking about my volume of training and my frequency of training and my goals. Like, what am I going to keep on packing on mass? And just, it's not good for my heart. There's all things that we are, still figuring out, but you have to think about taking care of your body because you only have one. And when you feed yourself, the food becomes your body. And what do you want your body to be like? What do you expect to happen when you're eating crap all the time? It's just, common sense is not common, but it's just, I don't know. You have to respect yourself. People need to really have some, again, responsibility and have more self-respect. And it goes back to fat acceptance and all these issues. People want to be coddled. People don't want to take responsibility. And it's just a lot of denial. And I'm not afraid to call people out on their bullshit. And if they get offended, that's on them, not me.
You just actually touched on the last thing I wanted to talk to you about. And it's such a huge part of health. And that's basically moving better, being more flexible, right? And it doesn't get hardly any attention. It's getting more and more now, but because it's boring, right? As guys, right, we want to lift heavy shit. We want to push sleds. We want to carry heavy ass kettlebells. We don't want to sit in a small space for 20 minutes and move slowly, stretch, do yoga, right? Because it's and I'm right on there. I have a hard time with it. I do it because I'm 47 and I'm falling apart slowly, but most guys, everybody that gets a program gets warmed up. You have to warm up, go through this entire dynamic warm up and get your body ready. And yoga is phenomenal, right? But it's boring. I know Diamond Dallas Page has a big program for guys that does well. You are big on yoga and taught it. Do you still teach yoga?
I teach yoga, and on my membership site, I have a full yoga studio with tons of classes, different levels, and all different styles. So yeah, it's constantly being updated. So yeah, huge on yoga, absolutely huge on yoga. So I teach classes in there, and I have videos and stuff, and I have instructors and yoga therapists and things. So yeah, I take it very seriously with my members.
Yeah, so your membership site is swolenormousx.com, right?
Correct.
Okay, so is it a live, like a streaming class, or is it all pre-recorded?
It's pre-recorded. I actually started it off before Swole Enormous X launched. I had live classes, but it just from looking at that, the concept was cool. It's like, hey, I have a live class. Don't care. People don't care if it's live. It sounds nice, but people just want to have access to the class. So when you do it recorded, you can get better quality. You can add better, music to it. You can, actually, make it a little bit better of a presentation, and people are going to access it whenever they want. So, yeah, you can watch classes unlimited, as many times as you want. And there's different things for everyone. And I add my own classes that are focused more on, of course, dudes and, focusing on certain areas of the body, whether it's shoulder mobility. And I do tons of programs, specifying shoulder mobility or hip activation, entire instructional video archive and private community. It's really in depth, and there's a lot of facets to it, but yoga is an absolute foundation, as is meditation. And one of the things with, like you were mentioning, what people, guys, it's not sexy, but that's been the game changer for me. And when you see someone who's in shape and they're pushing yoga, I've gotten so many guys into doing yoga. It's extremely flattering, and it makes me truly happy that if I can get one person, I just know if they can try a class, it'll change their entire view on, oh, that's what yoga is. Because I had the same thing. The first yoga class I ever did was, like many dudes, was P90X. That was the first yoga I ever did. And you realize, and I remember doing it. I remember the pose. I was doing revolving triangle, and I was looking up at the ceiling, and I had the sweat from my hand dripping on my face, and I'm shaking. I'm thinking, fuck, I'm out of shape. And I was hardcore lifting, big ripped, and I'm like, I am not fit. And I realized, and once I started doing it, my strength went, the shape of my muscles changed mentally, my approach. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's a huge piece that's missing. It's a huge piece that's missing. It's a huge piece that's missing for that's going to help people for the long term. It's a huge piece that's going to help strength, everything. Like you said, guys like to lift heavy. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, lifting and having strength is a huge component of anti-aging and staying young and staying. But what if you can't move? And the main thing that you lose when you get older is range of motion and mobility. And people are having trouble walking, right? I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I don't want to be in a walker. I don't want someone to wipe my ass for me. I want to be functional. And it's important to address those things now because it's going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast. And most of the people that really benefit from this are people that have already experienced injury and being on the sidelines. You never want, like, if you've never gotten injured, you don't have context. If you've been hurt before, you're like, I never want to get hurt again. I never want to have you're just passionate about never having that injury again because it sucks. And it's just an amazing addition to strength training. And I can't talk enough about it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For those listening, I mean, that's such a critical, and I probably don't even do a good enough job of going into the importance of mobility work. And, I'm 47. I've had a rotator cuff injury. I've had surgery on my elbow. And so, a lot of my parts aren't moving exactly as they should. And yeah, I have to spend time, and it is terribly boring to be sitting there doing these poses and stretching. And it takes 15, 20 minutes for me to get through it before I get to my workout. But if I don't, I'm a disaster. And it's just funny. I did P90X years ago. I did the whole program, and it was obviously brutal, but I did the yoga exactly once. I'm like, holy shit, I cannot do this. It's too hard. It was too hard. It's humbling. And
that was the thing with that video. That video was too long. It was an hour and a half. And, I'm not sure. I guess you already knew this because you checked into me because I worked with P90X and with Tony. And, it was because behind the scenes, we're talking about how P90X actually got created. And it was kind of like an accident how it got so popular because they were creating a sequel to the program Power 90. And, they just added to it. It was Power 90 Extreme, P90X. And like, they just didn't expect it to be like a huge phenomenon. But that yoga class, a lot of people skipped it because it's 90 minutes and there's like core at the end. So my programs and stuff, I started off, I was like, I made it 20 minutes because I'm like, I want people, if they want to repeat it, they repeat it, but I want to get people's feet wet. So I do a lot of my own personal classes that I teach are like 20 minutes, half an hour, and I have my other instructors do like 60 minutes or plus. But, a lot of it's not just the difficulty, it's the time, and it's really going within. And a lot of people don't like yoga, or they think it's boring, or they don't like it because it's too slow. They say it's too slow, or they're not good at yoga or meditation. They don't like it. It's because people are kind of like afraid to look within. They're afraid to have that pause and that silence because the brain is so noisy. And but it's like any kind of diet. Once you get past like that hump, you find such peace, you find such purpose, you find, oh, this is why I need to be consistent with it. And, it's not slow, it's not boring if you're approaching it with the right mindset. And a lot of people find discomfort in the stillness because they're so used to moving so fast, and it's very uncomfortable at a deep level when you actually look into the mind, because the mind's pretty intense. The mind is really crazy, and just the ability of the mind to heal and to reduce stress. And come on, I mean, if you can meditate regularly, you're reducing stress, you're going to reduce cortisol, you're going to lose weight, and you don't even have to exercise with it. That's just a component. It's a balance to the stress from the lifting. It's a balance from the stress with having kids, for your audience, with work, and balancing that with children and with your exes. And people deal with some serious shit in their lives, and it can be a huge struggle. And to find your own balance and to find your own that relationship with your own feelings, that's what I found with like yoga and meditation, is you really learn how to relate to your own feelings. You learn when, you just ignore feelings, you ignore certain emotions because you know where they're coming from, or the context of where they're coming from, because yoga, meditation, it's a practice, and there's no good or bad. And I hear so many times, I don't practice yoga, I'm terrible at yoga, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible at all. That's why you got to do yoga. That's why you got to practice. And in yoga, the pose that's the hardest for you, the pose that you like the least, is always the one that you need the most. So anytime you do a pose and you're like, oh my God, I can't get to this, or I hate this pose, I always want to get out of it quick, it's frustrating, just realize that's the most important one. That's the one your body needs the most. And then you just practice. The good thing about yoga is there's no good or bad. There's no good or bad. There's just practice. So some days are going to be tight. Some days I practice and I get, wow, I'm really mobile today. I feel great. And other times, oh, I'm stiff and I feel like a piece of cardboard. And, and if you judge yourself, then you're getting negative and like, oh, I suck at yoga today. Oh, today was a terrible practice. No, it's like, this is what my body's giving me today. And all you got to do is focus on the consistency and just allowing your body to give you what it will give you. And it's just it's a beautiful thing. I mean, honestly, it's not it might not be sexy. It might not be lifting 300 pounds or a heavy deadlift or, flipping a tire, but that this is what people are missing in their life. And especially if you're struggling with making progress and you're not adding these components, it's like you're missing pieces of the pie.
Yeah. And I'm absolutely in agreement with what you're saying here. And this has been awesome, man. I've had a great conversation. I know we could go on and on about this stuff. So why don't you tell everybody, you're all over the internet, so where would you like people specifically to find you online?
Well, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, you like podcasts, you can check out mine. It's everywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find out links to it. You go to swolenormousx.com. You can click on podcast in the main menu and it'll show you all the apps you can access it. And it's at Swolenormous everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, those are the main platforms. And feel free to send me a message, hit me up. I interact really all the time with my community. And whenever I do my podcast, I stream it live whenever I can. So feel free to drop by.
Yeah, man, good stuff. And I appreciate your time.
You got it, man.
All right, we'll catch up soon.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you want more information, check out the Fit Dad Basecamp group on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by fitdadnation.com. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking the next step. You can do this, Dad.